What's up everybody and welcome to the Fight Franchise and our preview and prediction of the UFC 296 main card. This main card has a lot of amazing fights and one of those fights takes place in the welterweight division between Shavkat Rakhmonov and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. This is quite the amazing matchup at welterweight finally. We've had quite a lackluster welterweight division this year at the top and the bottom of the division. Nobody seems to want to fight each other. There have been moments where, like, for example, Gilbert Burns did fight Belal Muhammad, but other than that and the title fight, Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards, there's been barely any movement or any fights in this division. There's newcomers in this division and people are trying to break through, and the old guard don't seem to want to fight them. We've had a couple of instances where fights almost got made. I think Wonderboy was supposed to fight someone very recently, but the fight fell through due to a missed weight cut. I can't remember who that was. It might have been, I don't know who it was actually. We'll research that in a moment. But let's take a look into this fight. This is quite the interesting fight. Shavkat and Wonderboy. Let's look at the kind of tail of the tape. The odds makers have Shavkat as a heavy favourite, and I'm kind of not surprised. Both guys kind of similar in height and in reach. The one big thing that Shavkat has in his arsenal compared to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 17 wins, 0 losses. One of the best undefeated prospects in all of MMA and the UFC. And all 17 wins, stoppages. Whether submissions or KOs, Shavkat Rakhmonov is a finishing machine. Wonderboy, on the other hand, has been a tremendous fighter over all these years, and many of us have always wanted him to kind of break through and get that title shot, but recently it's just not been his time. And also, even though he looks young, he's getting on in age. He's getting on in age and coming towards the kind of tail end of his career. Surprisingly though, Wonderboy has been brilliant defensively and only really lost, I think, one fight by KO, which is that legendary Anthony Pettis Superman punch. So let's kind of break down their recent records. In the last 3-4 years, Wonderboy's record is about 3 wins, 2 losses. He beat Vicente Luque by decision, beat Jeff Neal by decision, lost to Gilbert Burns by unanimous decision, lost to Belal Muhammad by unanimous decision, and beat Kevin Holland by TKO in one of the fights of the years from last year. But Kevin Holland opted to stand up against Wonderboy for no reason. Holland had a huge advantage on the ground and he didn't use it. If he did use it, he could have easily kind of won either a decision, grind out decision, or could have even got a submission against Wonderboy. But Wonderboy has shown over the years good defense on the ground. But average record, but he's has shown some brilliant moments in his game, especially in that Kevin Holland fight. Shavkat, on the other hand, debuted in the UFC in 2020 and has had 5 fights since, and scored some amazing wins and is improving every single time he gets in the octagon. Joined the UFC, beat Alex Oliveira by submission, beat Michael Prazeres via submission, got that legendary spinning hook kick and KO versus Carlston Harris, submitted Neil Magny, and recently in one of the best fights of the year, beat Jeff Neal by submission in a really competitive fight. But Shavkat was the younger, the better and the more skilled fighter in the octagon, but Jeff Neal did have moments where he clipped Shavkat. This kind of fight, I feel like we all know, is going to go one of two ways. Looking at them, Shavkat 6'1", Wonderboy 6 foot. 77-inch reach for Shavkat, 75-inch reach for Wonderboy, 42-inch leg reach for both guys. Shavkat has the X factor, and if you've ever watched the video we've done of the striker tier list, I put this guy as a world-class striker, and I don't just think he's a world-class striker, I think he's a world-class fighter. And if you were going to ask me predict any fighter to become champion going forward, I'd pick Shavkat. And if you asked me if you had to predict who would be the future John Jones of MMA, I'd pick Shavkat. His game is unbelievably diverse. grappling, submissions, striking, creative striking, and he goes into fights wanting to get a finish. He's not playing games. He's not playing around. He's going out there with a mission, beat his opponent and get him out the octagon, and not just win by decision, get him out the octagon, either KOing them viciously or tapping them out or choking them out. I think he's one of the best fighters on the roster, and I just think it's only a matter of time before he holds that belt. I think there was going to be a time where we all thought maybe him and the undefeated Khamzat Chimaev maybe cross paths, but he's gone up a division. That would have been a legendary fight to see. Wonderboy, I just can't pick him for this fight. There's a reason why Shavkat's the heavy favourite. This fight is teeing up Shavkat for a world title shot or a number one contender match against Belal Muhammad. I don't think Belal will take this fight because I just think it's too risky of a fight because Belal could easily lose. And if Belal were to lose, he loses his title shot. The one thing I will say, Wonderboy is very durable. And he's shown it over the years. Pettis is the only person who's really got him out of there because Pettis used a Superman punch out of nowhere, which Wonderboy didn't see coming and got him out. Does Shavkat have the ability to KO Wonderboy? Yes. Does Wonderboy have the ability to KO Shavkat? Maybe. We've seen Shavkat rocked here and there, but Wonderboy, he's a point fighter, he's a karate style guy, and I just think his game is very, very good. He's one of the best strikers in the UFC, but I just don't think it will work when there's the threat of the submission and the grappling and the takedown from Shavkat coming the other way. I just think his game is too diverse for Wonderboy, who's just straight up going to karate style point fight you, and against Shavkat, you don't want to point fight against him because what's going to be coming the other way is some vicious striking, grappling, or something that's going to have the potential to finish you. Because Shavkat has shown he's got the finishing ability on the feet, especially with that spinning hook kick. He's got diverse striking when it comes to his punches and kicks. So I just think you'd be a fool to bet against Shavkat. If Wonderboy wins, it's going to be one of the biggest upsets of the year. It's going to be one of the biggest prospects in MMA history. I'd say UFC history. One of the biggest UFC prospects of all time losing. But I just can't see it. I think the only guy who would kind of unstuck Shavkat is what would have been Kamaru, who went up, but he ain't going to fight for a while. I think Kamaru would have had problems for Shavkat because I just think Kamaru has such a brilliant game with the wrestling, the takedowns. He's got power coming the other way. He would have been a dangerous matchup because Jeff Neal did show when he did land on Shavkat, he didn't have him on skates, but he did rock him a little times, and daze him with some big hooks and punches. I just don't think Wonderboy has that kind of power. Wonderboy is similar to Leon Edwards. He needs to set it up perfectly if he's going to take you out of there. With Shavkat, you've got to kind of be perfect for the whole fight because he's finished 17 guys, and I just think that finishing streak is going to continue. If I had to predict the fight, I'll have to go, it's a 3-round fight, so he's going to finish it in one of the second round submission. I just think Shavkat, the first round, he'll just kind of stand and strike and just show, look, I can stand with one of the best strikers in the welterweight division. Second round, he's going to be like, okay, now showing you I can strike with this guy. Let me take him down. Let me drown him a little bit. He could potentially TKO him, but I just think he'll be smart enough, get the submission, get out of there unscathed, and hopefully line him up for a title shot early next year or summer of next year, depending on what happens with Belal Muhammad. I just think the UFC is high on this guy, and there is a potentially great matchup at the top of this division. It's a great matchup if he fights Colby, but I think Shavkat versus Leon Edwards would be such a fun and interesting matchup because of the frames, the skill sets. They're both two well-rounded fighters. Obviously, you'd give the striking to Leon, and Shavkat you'd give the grappling and wrestling, but it would be such an interesting fight and matchup, and seeing if Leon Edwards could tackle this puzzle, which is Shavkat, because right now I don't see anyone in welterweight who has this style that can kind of solve the puzzle, which is Shavkat. Wonderboy might prove us wrong, might land a hook kick or a head kick upstairs, but I just don't see it happening. I just think Shavkat, he's young, he's kind of going into his prime, and he's going to go into the fight and just kind of drown Wonderboy and try and get that finish. Let me know what you guys think of this fight. Are you guys as high on Shavkat as I am? I think he's going to be the next John Jones. I genuinely think he's going to be the best fighter in the world very shortly. Do you think Shavkat's got an easy win? Do you think Wonderboy might pull off the upset? Let us know down in the comments below. I think it'll be a second round submission for Shavkat. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more MMA and fight content coming soon. Hopefully UFC 296 delivers and becomes one of the cards of the year, because we need it for the end of the year. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.